right, so we will be taking a quick look here at Elizabeth Warren's affordable housing plan. Now, looks like she wrote this back in March, but she just referenced it 4 days ago, and I wanted to talk about it because Elizabeth Warren is someone who's supposedly known for having a quote plan for everything. She's currently trying to outleft Bernie, and she has seemed to score a lot of support amongst a lot of Hillary supporters. So, as you can see from this tweet, she says, "My affordable housing plan would reduce rental costs by 10% over the next 10 years, create 1.5 million new jobs, and build millions of new housing units." So, and she has this Medium article that's linked that my understanding is she wrote. And I read the piece, and basically the points that she brings up are the main points that she brings up is in terms of the problems that need to be solved. She says that there are zoning laws that need to be taken away. So they're like, just certain rules of like, oh, you need this much parking space in order to build this and yada, 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 stuff like that. And also the bigger one, what seems from her, is that there is simply not enough government investment into housing. Now, housing is a bit of a tricky issue, but as you guys know, reducing rental costs by 10% over the next 10 years isn't shit. It's literally nothing. It's a garbage plan. Any plan for affordable housing that reduces rental costs by only 10% over the next 10 years is complete trash. That's nothing. I don't even know if that takes into account like inflation as well as the what's already naturally the increase of rent. So I don't even know if that even takes into account the fact that rent increases every year. And so it's like, okay. But let's hypothetically even take her numbers at face value, 1% a year. Guys, if you vote for Elizabeth Warren, her plan's going to bring down your rental cost by 1% every single year. That's what her plan is, 10% over the next 10 years. Now, a big problem that I see with this, and when I say housing is tricky, I really mean it. Housing is a very tricky issue. But here's a really big problem that I think is the core of the problem because it ends up affecting the whole market. And a lot of you guys may not know about this. But a big problem that we have in housing, and this is underlying as well, is people more looking at housing as more of an investment to make money rather than something to live in. But specifically speaking about foreign investors, specifically from China, Chinese billionaires, Chinese millionaires, rich Chinese people in general, right? So if you read about this, what they're doing, especially in states like California and New York, these big states, although they're also expanding to other states, what they do is they purchase these homes for prices way above the market price because they've got a bunch of money and it's a good investment to have to offset in case the Chinese economy goes bust. They basically have that to fall back on in terms of an investment, and they've got a bunch of money, and the prices for the homes are gonna continue to rise, and so they've got a ton of money, so it doesn't matter. So some of the really rich people will just buy these incredibly pricey homes at like double the asking price simply because they can. And what ends up happening there is you end up distorting the market because once those prices go up, everything else's price are going to go up. So I think that's a fundamental market issue that we have that we need to face. So you could either do some sort of a ban on that, or you could do just a super tax of some sort. You know how out-of-state tuition is super expensive because if you're going out of state, they expect you not to, be staying in that state, or that basically, your family didn't pay into taxes in that state, so you've got to pay out-of-state tuition, something similar to that, And the thing is those homes stay vacant. Those homes are not being occupied, meaning there's no one living in the house. So they're paying exorbitant amount of money for it that distorts the market, and they're not living in them. Now, another problem, an epidemic, is people who remain vacant from these homes, they're not paying more than other people who are in the U.S. who are trying to buy homes. And I was just reading about this. What they do is they have cash. They have cold, hard cash. So what they end up doing is, there will be a higher offer, maybe like a slightly higher offer from someone who's in the U.S., but because it's not cold, hard, 100% cash, they give it to the person who has all cash to spend. Because obviously, I'm going to take all the money up front. It's much cleaner, it's quicker, gets the job done, right? So that's another really big problem that ends up happening. So a lot of people end up not being able to purchase that home because of foreign investors. And I think that that's probably the biggest issue that we have. as well as generally speaking, again, just the fact that we treat housing more as something for the purpose of making money rather than we do of thinking of it as something, for people to live in, I think is a huge problem, especially because we're not even just talking about like investments for rich people. Like real estate is something that, middle class people can get into. And so that's what makes this really, tough is that, okay, now you got, everybody treating it like that. So listen, man, a reducing of rental costs by 10% over 10 years is nothing. That's an unacceptable plan. That's trash. It won't even really be 10%, but again, let's even just be charitable and just say it'd be 10%. That is not even close to being enough.